What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Manage by Mom podcast. I'm your girl, Natia Marie, and I have a dope momager I'm speaking to today. Today, I'm speaking to a momager who's working with an 11-year-old athlete, supermodel, and fashion designer. I am talking to the one and only Tesha Cunningham of Pretty Athletics. Hey, Tesha.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I think it's so important to keep building this community of moms and momagers and dads and dadagers because we are, helping them and our kids in their careers, but we're also their guardians. So it's really dope to have other momagers and parents around to give you that second eye and have y'all back too. So I'm so glad to be a part of this community with you and speak to you today about your journey.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
So, one of the things that I love about your brand, and I know, well, just to tee it up a little, so Prissy Athletics is a duo co-owned by you and your 11-year-old daughter, Kendall Cunningham. And Kendall, when I first met Kendall, I met her as a model. And then she came out as a designer. And then from learning about you guys, I learned that she's an athlete as well. And she's so well spoken. And when she tells her story and the passion behind Prissy Athletics, it is like so inspiring. The tagline of "You can be a beauty and a beast," it says it all. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, do you consider yourself a momager?
I mean, I guess I've fallen into that role, if you would say, because of the things that Kendall has gotten into. You almost do need to have myself there as management. We've been
Mhm.
getting calls about her having opportunities to model with other brands and in other arenas, and so I'm that person who takes that on and makes those decisions as to whether or not we have the time or it's the best fit for her and her brand. So I would definitely say so.
But you're doing a great job. Have you done any management before this?
Oh, that's funny you ask. Years ago, I did
Okay.
manage an artist, but it artist. I was a teacher, and there was a young lady at the school who was a singer, an aspiring singer, and I had an opportunity to kind of manage her and get her going. Even though she had transferred to another school, I was still in the space of managing her and getting her started. So I have a little touch and opportunity of doing that. But that just happened to just happen. I was modeling at the time. I was really young and teaching. It was right out of college and basketball. And I used to do fashion shows. So I would just bring this little
Oh,
girl with me, and I would say, I have a singer. Can she sing during this show that they're having? And so sometimes they would say okay, and then we started to like really tee it up for her to have other opportunities outside of just being a young lady I will bring with me. So I would say
that's
so.
dope. I love that. And at first I was going to ask you a bunch of questions about current, but now I'm super interested in your past. So I know you were an athlete, and now you're telling me you was a manager and you was a model and you did fashion shows. So tell me all about your sounds like you're overall creative. So just like, how was your journey?
Well, I am, I think, an overall creative. I've been just into the arts all of my life.
Mhm.
As a kid, growing up in my household with my mom, my dad, I had big brother and a younger brother. But in the household, I would produce fashion shows when I was like Kendall's age. I would be 10, 11. I would produce shows in my basement. We would dance to
Wow.
Michael Jackson, and I would produce those shows in my basement. So, and charge people a quarter in the neighborhood to come and see the show. It was
Yes,
crazy.
indeed.
And when I think back on it, I was like, what? We also had a basketball court on the side of our house. My dad built a basketball court for my older brother who was playing basketball. He went on to play as well. Um, so I would hold tournaments on the outside on in my driveway, and I would charge a quarter. So you can tell how old I was because a quarter was a lot for us. But I would
Right.
actually charge a quarter for for some of the shooting, like some of the tournaments that I would host in our driveway. So I definitely had this kind of spirit in me where I wanted to just produce things. Um, but modeling was something I didn't get into until I was in high school. Had a really good friend. She was into it, and we were just great friends. And she was on the basketball team. She ran track. She did a lot, and she was into modeling. She was like, "You want to come to an audition?" And we went, and I was nervous, and I made that show. And from there, it just opportunities just started to open up for me. So I had that opportunity toward my 11th and 12th grade year in high school.
Mm.
And so going into college, it was a whole nother story because I did play basketball on a scholarship, and there was no NIL, there was no opportunities for me to be able to be on a scholarship and be a model. That's a whole nother rabbit
Oh,
hole to go down, but it was crazy. Yeah.
wow. So when
What kind
you're
of started?
right, so I just see so many similarities between what I know about your daughter's story and your story. It's like almost so cool how like our kids, you know, it allows us to be better because they're just a reincarnation of us, but they're better, you know. So that's so cool. How many children do you have?
I have two. I have an older son. He's going
Okay.
into the 10th grade. And then my daughter, obviously, who's going into 6th grade, middle school this year. She'll be starting it this year.
Wow. Wow. So let's talk about Kendall. And I know Kendall as a supermodel, honey. I know Kendall has prissy athletics, but her personality, her alter ego comes out when it's time to model, and it's so like interesting to see it happen, you know, because she's so quiet before it's showtime. But when I get that video footage of the show, I'm like, whoo, Kendall lit up the cameras.
It's crazy. And I don't know where she gets that from at all. She's very shy. Now that's something that makes us different in that regard. She might be more like her dad, like more reserved.
Mhm.
And just to herself, pretty quiet by nature. She really,
Mhm.
really is. But I don't know. It was something about the opportunity to just get on that runway, or when she's on the court, she is a different person. You can tell that there's a love and there's a passion behind what she's doing. So I've just been running with it. Like this is what she
Mhm.
enjoys doing. For me, I don't think that I had that much passion behind the modeling thing. It was just fun, and I got opportunities, and hey,
Yeah,
okay, well, I'll do it. But for her, she's really into it, really, really into it.
right. So let's talk a little bit about Prissy Athletics, like you guys fashion company, your clothing line. And I want to speak about it because the messaging I hear when you tell how the story began, I want you to share like the meaning behind it and let the audience know like that it's so much bigger than fashion.
Oh yeah, most certainly. Um, because like you said, I'm a tall woman. Her dad, my husband, he's tall, so I'm 6'2". Her dad is like 6'7". And I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I was gonna have tall children. That was gonna be
Mm-hmm.
a no-brainer. And one thing that I didn't want was for my daughter to grow up not believing in herself and not having confidence in herself. But I felt like I always did. I think my mom did a wonderful job. My dad, they did a job with raising me and making me feel, confident in who I was growing up. So I never really thought about it. Um, but in elementary school, starting in the 1st grade, Kendall came home. She had this bully issue that she was talking about, but she didn't call it bullying, obviously. It was just things that I could tell this young lady was just doing a lot at school. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but one day she came home and she expressed like how she felt. And it all tied into the things that she was calling her: long legs, giraffe, and all of these things that this young lady was calling her. And then she bumped her, and then it became physical. So when she came home and she shared that with me, and Kendall, like we already know, like she kind of keeps everything even kill. So
Mm.
when she started to cry, it was when it, like right there, it just hit me. I
Yeah.
was not prepared in any way for that. And she asked me, like literally, am I normal?
Oh,
It was crazy because she was already
yeah.
stood out. Um, she stood out not just because of her height, but it was also because of her background and just reading. Like she was really strong reader. My mom was an elementary school educator for years, and she just soared in
Mm.
reading and like as you say in speaking. She just was. It was just natural for her, so she kind of stood out. Teachers used her for things and things of that sort. And then she always wanted to like close in. Like, I don't want to be the lead in this, or I don't want to do these things because she felt uncomfortable. I just didn't want that. I just didn't want her to dim her light. I
Yeah.
also wanted her to know that you're not the only one who may feel uncomfortable in, some of the blessings that you have been given. And
Mm.
so I just wanted to tie together the things that in that moment that she was into, um,
Mm.
and just make her feel great about it. And I said, it can't be you by yourself. You're just not walking around feeling good and confident by yourself. I think it's important that we build this community where we can make others feel great about who they are, even in their differences, even if it's, you stand out for one reason or another, whatever that reason may be. So that's how, pretty much Prissy Athletics was born. She used to sketch stuff, and, she's artsy as well, but she used to sketch stuff. She used to say, I want my own store. And I'm more of a tomboy. She's
Mm.
more of like in fashion. She wanted, we would go to a game. She would want hair bows in her hair. And she was, can't, why are you wearing a bow? Like, we don't wear bows in in the
In
soccer arena.
basketball.
But that's what she wanted. So that's how the logo, as you can see, has a
Oh, I
bow and a
never
ponytail.
noticed
So it all
that.
yeah. The P has a ponytail, but it has a bow on it because that was significant to her in her earlier years. That she always wanted this big old bow on her head. And I was just like, oh God, she get wears another bow. But that's what she was into. So we did. So,
I love that. And I love the messaging. I saw one of her interviews recently where she actually told the bully story. But the most
mhm.
part that stuck out for me was when she mentioned that she wants to inspire other kids because she knows she's not the only one that feels like this. And it's just some wisdom that you definitely get from having a good support system around you. But, when you have talented kids, it's just something inside of them that is different
Mhm.
than other people, and it's not bad. It's like they and I love what you're doing by encouraging her to shine because it's like that star inside of her
Yeah, I'm
and that
definitely trying.
leadership.
To be honest, I think that I dim my light in a lot of ways. And us as parents, we want our
Mhm.
children to be better than us. We
Right.
want them to exceed what we were able to accomplish. And
Correct.
I know when I look back on my experiences, there's so much I can go down a whole rabbit hole about those experiences. But when I look at my experiences, there were times that I was doing the same thing that she was describing to me. And it really, really, it put a little fear in me as a mom, and it made me really have to step up and say, "Oh no, let me fix this mental thing that you have going on, thinking that you have to dim your light because the standing out feels uncomfortable." So that was really important. And then it's just important to bring others with you. Like I want you to be great, but I don't want anyone else to feel like you think you're better. We can fix each other's crowns. Started in college because I didn't have a choice, um, because I could not have have an NIL deal. I was playing at Georgetown at the time with like Allen Iverson, Jerome Williams, Jahadi White, like big time men's basketball players. Basketball was huge, and so I know that the rule really was really made to for the boys because they had more of the spotlight, but it,
Hmm.
it, it was across the board, so it affected
Hmm.
me. So when I had just signed with an agency, and I had an opportunity to get. I got a call back. It wasn't
Mm.
sure. I wasn't sure. I was just so excited about this callback from a gig, a photo shoot, a gig. And I don't know how I got back, but my coach found out, and my coach said, "Well, you have a choice. Do you want to model, or do you want to play on this scholarship?"
Ooh.
And so obviously I knew that it was just an opportunity to have fun. I didn't look at it like it was going to be my career. So it was a
Mm.
no-brainer. But because of that, we that summer when we were able to work, when you're on scholarship back in the time that I played, you weren't even able to have a job during your
Wow.
school year. So my job, I could get money during the summer, but I still couldn't take pictures. I still
Mm.
couldn't be, do any print work. So
Mm.
started to produce fashion shows and get high school kids to come out. We got kids from all over Duke Ellington, the School of the Arts. I got a couple of my friends together, and I started producing fashion shows for like
Was it a quarter to get in?
no, oh no, ma'am. Oh no, ma'am. Those shows, we upped it up. That was about $20. That was big back then too, $20, $30. But we were like selling out shows. And I got my first, I booked a hotel because my big brother who was overseas, so he had a chunk of money that I had to use for the down payment. So I used his money that when he came home from overseas, I was like, please, got my family all, they all supported me. Um, and we got the hotel and had an audition at a high school at a gym because I knew a coach, and we put on fashion shows. We would just get local designers and things of that sort and get local artists to come and perform, and it grew, and
Mm.
we did it for at least all of the rest of my years through college. um,
Wow. Which
so
college were you at?
Georgetown University.
Oh, nice. So you were
That's
playing
all right.
basketball at Georgetown?
Yep. Yep.
Wow, that's
But
huge.
at that time when you had like John Thompson, who was a great mentor to me, inspiration, was the head coach at the time. We it was just a lot. Like it was Hoya fever in Washington
Mm.
D.C. when you had Jahidi White, Jerome Williams, Allen Iverson, which
Yeah.
is a household name. They were on the men's team and I was on the women's team, and I remember just like complaining like they put this dumb rule in, and it's really not for me. It's because people are trying to buy, a Jahadi White jersey or
Right.
Allen Iverson jersey or something. They're not trying to buy, at the time, Nixon jersey. Like,
Right.
so the rule just affected me, and I was unable to
Yeah.
just do what I kind of like. I started to like when I was in high school. So I
Mm.
started producing shows, and the feeling that those girls got, like, um, they just got to shine.
Mm.
So being able to put those two things together, with Prissy Athletics, it's a passion of mine, but it is definitely a passion of mine that matches perfectly with my daughter. So it was like a no
Mm.
brainer. It was like crazy how everything just aligned. And
Right.
I just feel like God puts you in certain arenas and certain
Yes.
positions for a reason, and it
Yes.
became my purpose. So now it's all about not just building confidence in my daughter, in which it is still a challenge on a daily basis. As she grows taller and taller, and she's just going into middle school.
Right.
Um, but the feedback that I get back from parents or even young ladies who have been a part of anything that we've done, the feedback is just fuels us to continue. So I'm just
Doesn't it
excited
make you
about
cry sometimes? Like even with Kids Fashion Week, we're in just like you guys, we're just rolling, we're just doing rolling, rolling, and then somebody just sends you an email, and it could be so simple, but it just makes you stop and like
absolutely.
cry. Yes,
Your show was the first show, Kid Fashion Week was the first time that we put the brand into a fashion show.
nice.
It was Kendall's second time like walking on a real stage. She did DC Fashion Week, and it was her second time like walking on a real stage in
You
front of
can never guess that was her second time. This time she had on the yellow thing.
yes, the yellow,
Sure,
yep.
she was sashaying around, and I would never guess that was her second time. Oh my
Oh, she
god.
would watch Tyra Banks and Naomi Campbell on YouTube and study them. So I can't even say that I taught her how to walk the runway. She would just
Yeah.
watch them and just study it. When she's into something, she's going to study it, and she clearly studied it. So
I like
it's
got
really
chills. Like Kendall's gonna be a supermodel. Like she
cool.
has it. Whatever the it factor is, like she totally has it. And I think like the balance of her, alter ego and herself gives her a great balance because a supermodel or someone who changes the world, they also have humility. And she totally has that side of her.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm just so excited for her, like, and for you guys. And I'm just, I've seen you like when we went to Fox, and I know you don't coach her on the runway, but I've seen you give her like mom model poses. Like you need to work them sleeves, and
Yeah,
so she's blessed to have you guiding her and protecting her. And speaking of protecting, that's one thing I do want to talk about because especially in the modeling world. I'm not sure about the sports, and you could definitely let me know. But in the modeling world, with her being 11 and even last year working with us, she was 10, and I know she's tall and she's wearing these dresses. What do you guys talk about privacy and security? Like,
oh,
how do you protect
absolutely.
them?
The great thing about it now is that she's still a minor.
Right.
So I'm in every room.
Mm-hmm.
She is getting dressed. I'm in that room. If I bring my daughter, it's understood because we're a lot of times she's doing shows here recently and they're all adults. So
Right.
they understand that she's a child and I can move her to another space. But even selecting what it is that she is okay with wearing, that's
Right.
important to me, to my family as a whole as well. So those types of things, I'm able to make the call on for right now, and hopefully she'll carry that on and understand like there's certain limits that we won't cross with certain opportunities. Some of them we just can't take. I
Right.
know that we got, like, for instance, I think we received something here recently about like a fashion show with swimwear, and we
Yeah.
just not doing that. But it was
Yeah.
great that they reached out to her, and it was really nice. But we're just not going to do that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just she's 11 and you're adults. It's just not right now. So
Right.
that's when mommy, manager, whomever has to step in and nah, not this.
Yeah. So what about social media? Is she a part of the social media? Is she managing the pages and
She
aware?
definitely does not. She just
Yeah.
got a page this year, which is her basketball page, and her
Oh,
dad manages the basketball page.
got it.
So, and that was just this year.
Mm-hmm.
So she does not manage it. She really doesn't really look at much on either of our pages. What she
Right.
does is for Prissy Athletics is she creates content. Like she just finished creating content for a new piece that we're uploading. So she creates the content. She'll
Mm-hmm.
go and I'm like, all right, show me what you got, and she can upload it and she'll put it on, but it's mine. So before it's uploaded, it goes through myself. But that
Yeah.
is her responsibility on Prissy Athletics. But she knows
Mm-hmm.
the focus. The focus isn't necessarily her. The
Right.
focus is the
The
brand.
brand.
And we definitely always have different faces on there because we want to highlight, the people who are wearing our brand. So
And it makes sense because, like if you look at other kids who are deemed supermodels in this city, like Eris, she's still 16, whereas Kendall is 11 and she just turned 11. Like she's still a child. She's not a teenager. So it's definitely different rooms and different approaches to the things that she can do because she's just as good as Eris. She's just 10.
she's a baby.
I know.
I know. Sometimes I had to remind myself because I remember one time we were coming home from somewhere. I was so upset with her. I was getting on her in the car, and I said, "You're doing the little kid stuff. That's what they do in elementary school." And she said, "Mom, I am in elementary school." I was like, "Oh."
Oh, yeah.
So even sometimes I'll forget because she is like, pretty mature for her age.
Mhm.
And sometimes we all forget, but I
Yeah,
have to, I have to remind myself just to make sure that we're doing, the best, and showing her in the best light.
for sure. And you're doing a great job at that for sure. And we've talked about modeling, but she has so much time to do so much more. And she's already great. So I cannot, she's only going to get better and better and better, you know?
She prays.
So
She prays, so.
yeah. So let's talk some more about the designing element. So you mentioned she sketches, and that's really cool. But I've also seen like her actually pressing things on the clothes, like pressing the logos. So what's the business side of the design? Are you guys going over contracts? Are you teaching her finances and budgeting as well?
Right now I'm definitely teaching her budgeting. She We don't have that many contracts that we have closed on, but she's always at the table when those conversations are happening.
Right.
And when it comes to design, she's more of a visionary. She's big picture. So she will
Mm-hmm.
come up with an idea or a concept for each of our collections. We talk it
Mm-hmm.
over like we are each other's soundboard. And yes, she does press the shirts and things of that sort, but because we're growing a little, sometimes we're now able to outsource a little bit more. If it's not like a large project, we will still she will still be the one heat pressing and helping to design whatever it is that we want on each of our pieces. So the other thing that she does is she checks the analytics.
Oh,
We also look at the data, and she's able to look at like the marketing aspects of it, of how do we pivot from this, what else should
mm.
doing. Like we have those conversations, and it's on her to bring back to me the data. What are people looking at when they go to the website? What are they not looking at? And things of that sort. She looks at the back end of that and the back end of our social media outlets. So she
That's
definitely is.
dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those are skills like I think that a lot of the kids need, right? Like to be able to move forward in business and comfortable. Because there might be a day when she's like, "Mom, I'm gonna hire a manager," and then you could feel comfortable knowing that she knows what she's doing.
Yep.
Um, but most importantly, I think that is dope because taking out the momager part, as a mom, you guys have something that like keeps you glued together, like keep you bonded. Something y'all, it's like y'all thing.
Yeah, that's our thing. Dad works out with her and big brother in the back, even though I was a basketball player too. Like he
Mhm.
done took over that role. So dad, and grandma and granddad, my mom and my dad, they are very instrumental as well with, because I still have a job.
Right.
Um, in conjunction with trying to help to run Prissy Athletics and be a mom and a wife. Mom and dad My mom and dad are so instrumental. They bring her to basketball practices. There's sometimes you probably see my mom
I
might
met
bring her
them.
to the
Yeah.
audition
Yeah.
and things of that sort. So I'm not, I have a whole, like a tribe of people. My big
That's important.
brother, my younger brother, just my family. Like we're all like in this together.
Let's talk about that, like how important community is. I mean, you just described your community, but think about when you're building your team too. Like, that has to be hard to select people that come around your
Yeah.
family because
Yeah.
then they don't want to see the anger come out if they mess up because that's when it gets real, okay?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the crazy thing is, along with me being a basketball player, and an educator, I coached for over 20 years. And
Wow.
so some of the young ladies who I coached in high school went on to college, played in college, got their degrees, and now they're back. And I am so blessed to have them right by my side. There are like one young lady, she probably be mad if I even said her name, but Shanice, her and her twin sister, they have been like in this grind with me from day one.
Nice.
And it's crazy because I was your coach. I knew them since they were 14, and now they are adults, and
Mm,
they are part of this tribe to make Prissy Athletics run. I have
mm,
other athletes who play for me who I would call, and they'll be right there and help me in any way, shape, or form. Like I call on them, because they became my family. I
yeah.
call on some of their parents because they became my family. So it's just, that's part of the tribe. That's part of this village that's helping in the back just to just help get this thing moving. I have great friends. A lot of my friends are entrepreneurs, and I can bounce things off of them. So it's a I'm blessed to have, some great
Yeah.
people around me.
It sounds to me like you paid it forward. Like you were doing things back in the day that was just resonating with your soul and not knowing and not expecting anything later. And now you have this empire you're building, and the people that you poured into are now able to pour back into what you're
Like
doing. And
tenfold.
that is amazing.
That is. When I think
That's a
about it,
miracle.
absolutely.
Yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure.
And when
I
I
love
think
that.
about it, yeah, I didn't look at it in that way. We kept in contact when they were in college, and it's just crazy. It's not like I asked; they just, you know, they're just there in support, and I'm just grateful, just
God's
absolutely.
plan.
Yeah.
So we talked about the modeling, we talked about Prissy Athletics. Let's jump into Kendall as an athlete. You know, what is there any differences between managing a child in fashion and sports?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Um, because I think if you're managing a child in the entertainment world, it's
Mm,
different because you can become a pro, if you will, at any age, right? You can become
mm,
a superstar at any age. So the way that you're already in the world of business, you're already in that world where the protection is different. On the
mm,
basketball side of it, there are stages. And I understand the stages. And, she's going into middle school, and this is the first time that she can play for a school.
mm,
Um, there's AAU, which is travel ball, which is a lot,
mm,
very expensive, and it takes a lot of time and investment if you really want this to happen. Um, but management on that side, it's starting to, even though it's completely different, because I'm pushing her to try to get a scholarship, just like our son. Like we're putting him in the best positions to earn a scholarship. Let's start there. Like pro is obviously her dream, but for me, I played on a scholarship and I went to work. And I feel, and there was so many great doors that were open for me as a result, that there's different stages. You get so much from it, even playing basketball, or playing any sport, as a young child, like all the many lessons that you're learning, um, just about pushing through, perseverance. It's so teamwork, working with others. It's so much that you can learn, that as a mom, I want to be able to be there to teach those things. She's not an individual on a team sport as she is as a model, right? She's going in, and I'm telling her and preparing her mentally to go in and get this. Everyone in there is coming for that one spot that you're trying to get. They all
mm,
become your competition. Whereas when you're a part of a team, you have to work with other people. You have to be able to work with them, and maybe what you're bringing, the coach doesn't need, and you need to bring something different. It's different in some ways. Um, but I've noticed here recently, in these past couple of years, with how women's basketball and just women's sports in general has grown, that it's become a business as well, and it's entertainment too.
mm,
Um,
mm.
so that's why I told you the social media. My husband started the social media, like this year, in 2024, for just basketball alone, because it's part of what they're doing now. It's
Wow,
changed in a lot of ways, that marketing happens now, and it's crazy.
that
So
is crazy. That is
trying to stick with it. It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys are like dipping in so many different industries, so I'm sure it's a lot, you know. But you're still doing well, like you're managing it, so that's a good thing. And it seems like Kendall is sincerely interested in these things as well. It's not like mom's dream. It's like you could totally tell that this is Kendall's dreams as well.
And I want to make sure that it maintains that. I'm going to move with her as she moves, if it's not. But I'm going to be real. You're absolutely right that you can even see that, because there's times with, Prissy Athletics that, it's rough. It's hard in trying to be in this e-com space. And you might not get the sales. When we're looking at analytics, it's rough. And there's
Mm.
times when I'm like, I've spent too much of mom's money on this. Can we might want to pull back? Like I've had these conversations with her and she is not hearing it. So we're
Yeah.
still in it because she has a passion for it and she really wants it to work. And so her pushing me is why Prissy Athletics is still, chugging along and moving and trying to, grow. She's
Yeah.
not letting it go.
And learning the ups and downs of business is a part of business.
Yeah,
Like no matter how successful a business is, there are peaks and pits. So for her to experience it so young,
yeah.
can you imagine Kendall okay, what do you think Kendall's gonna be like in 10 years?
Oh
At
my
21.
gosh, there's that
Don't
21.
cry.
She will be in. I believe based on what she shares with me all of the time. She will be what is still in college in 21, right? Yeah, she'll be in college playing at a very high level. That's her goal. Um, she'll probably be majoring in business in some way, shape, or form. Um, I can honestly see her, doing a lot of speaking engagements and sharing her story. But she definitely wants to grab countless NIL deals, and so she wants to be able to fuse that modeling with, her being an athlete. So I definitely can see that, for her at 21. And she says that we're going to have this global brand that we've been trying to manifest. So we'll see if it's here by, the age of 21. But that's what, she's been working on it.
I love that. I love that that's her vision too, because I could see it too. Like, I'm not specific, but I just know she's going to be great, whatever
Thank you so much.
it
Thank you.
is. No, seriously. And let's talk about her speaking because to be shy and then when you give her a mic, she like I feel like she's more articulate than me, so like where did she get that from? Are you guys practicing? Like how would a parent help their shy kid speak up?
I think that it has been the environments that we have put her in. So starting
Mm.
in school, she went in as early as like maybe two because her birthday is late. And so she went into school a little bit early, if you will. And when she was in school, she went to a Christian school and they would have these performances all the time. And those teachers would always put her out there. I had no clue initially. So first they were putting her out there just to, sing. She had a singing part. I really want to find that. You cracking up. I said, "Oh, my child's going to be Beyonce." That wasn't it. But she was like the lead and and the choir doing something. So she was always put in those positions. And teachers will always tell me she has something special. And this was when she was 2. It's
Look at
something
that.
special. And I used to be like, okay, we all think our children are the greatest. So I'm like, oh, okay, great, great, great. But after that, when I started to see her, she was going to perform at 2. I knew that I needed to make sure that she was prepared in the future to be able to lead and be in the front. Because her first time that she went, I'll never forget that the teacher told me, make sure you're at, you're at this one of their like Christmas shows that they had, and she was in the front and she stood there and just looked at the mic. I'm like, well, why
Oh.
did the teacher put her in the front? Like, I don't understand. She was staring at the microphone, like, and I'm like, I don't even know what she's supposed. Come sing the song. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Um, and the teacher had to pull her along, and she was just staring. And all of a sudden, she did it because that teacher was there. And so I think
Mm.
that put them in the right places where people believe in them as well. But once that happened, I was like, my daughter's never gonna freeze like that ever again in life. So
Mm.
we're going to work and I'm going to continue to push her out there. So I do that all the time. And I'm not going to lie, she is definitely better than myself. When we were at, when we were at Fox 5, when we were there with you guys at Fashion Week, for New York, for Kids Fashion Week, she was just modeling. And so I said, Kendall, it's okay. You don't have to talk today. You're not going to get a microphone on you. All you have to do is just be a model today. You don't have to talk about Prissy. It's not about your brand. So relax. I was just explaining it to her beforehand. And then just so happened when you guys were out there, she put the microphone on it. She was
Right.
like, "Mom, I said we were gonna put the microphone." I said, "Well, you did well, like naturally." So
Right.
she
That's what
turned
my
on.
son said too. Afu was like, "Y'all say we weren't gonna have to talk." I'm like,
We didn't know. I was like, "But you did good." So you had
"Yeah,
for that. So she's getting better. She's definitely getting better with being able to speak in front of people. But my mom, like I said, early childhood, we would read. It was important that I read to both my children based on what my mom would push me to do with them. So we would read. And as a baby, riding in the car, my mom gave me this example of always just like, no matter what it is, if we're driving down the road to the store, like turn the music off and talk to your daughter, talk to your
ooh, yeah,
oh, wow, look at that huge bill. Like use other words. Don't just say it's big and just start to
oh,
just describe what you see in your conversation, even when she isn't talking or he wasn't talking. That was what I did purposefully because my mom told me to do it. It's, so I did it. So I mean, it could be a combination of those things, but I really
y'all
do.
sound like y'all feel like such a great family. Like I want to come to y'all cookout. I just want to be down."
Oh no, that's my mom and my dad. They are they're my rock. They're my
Yeah, your mom's so sweet. I remember seeing her one time and she was just by herself, but I knew she was your mom. Like you guys all look alike. I mean, people say that about my mom too. I know, but like you guys definitely all look alike.
yeah, everyone says that. Yep, I get it.
So how are you guys working together to balance or to teach Kendall balance between her personal life and her career and her ambitions?
That is an ongoing battle because
Mm,
there's times where she sacrifices hanging out with her friends because we have something to do with the brand. Um,
mm,
but for me as a mom, I want to make sure that she still has that opportunity to be Kendall and still have her social life. But
right.
there's an order. There's an order in which we do what we do. It is God first, is family, right, and then it's school, and then
Mm,
it comes to our brand that you dreamed of, and then it comes to basketball, and then it's social life. And she's very
right.
clear on that. Like
Nice.
there's an order in which that it happens. So when something comes up, she sometimes she understands what's going to take over. She was just
Mm,
talking earlier today, like, well, I want us to go on a trip outside of AAU. We've been all over the place all summer for AAU, both for my son and her, but they want to just do a trip, just a family trip. And she said, I just hope I don't have a tournament that weekend. I just hope we don't have. When is our next event for Prissy Athletics so I can choose a different date? So she's been planning this family trip for us that she wants to squeeze in before the summer's over. And she understands, but it's my job and my husband's job to still honor that so that they can
mm,
still be kids and still be able to have fun and not think that, you can't enjoy. But I just
mm,
think that that balance is important that she knows what her priorities are. So you have to do what
yeah.
you have to do now to do what you want to do later.
Girl, that is my quote too. Do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. I heard
Mhm.
it on The Great Debaters years and years ago, that Denzel Washington movie. And I used to say it to my son all the time. It's to the point now that I just give him a look and he's like, if you do what you have to do, like, he know what I'm about to say.
Mhm.
And I
I
feel
try
like
to
I
give her this or
live by
that.
that quote.
And I try
Huh?
to give her this or that. You do this, I know that you're missing out on this. I got you. We're
Yeah.
gonna do X together, or I will plan something with her friends, or we can do something else. Because I know you're missing out, and I don't want her to always miss out on stuff. So
Yeah. And again, it's just teaching them very fundamental life skills for someone who's going to have a big career in any capacity ahead of them. Just balance, you know. So I love that. It sounds like she's on it.
I hope so. I hope so.
So here's some questions I like to ask as we're coming to an end. You
Okay.
know, what are you most proud of Kendall for?
Um, I'm I'm really most proud of Kendall for being able to balance all of the things that she enjoys doing, and whenever she steps into any of those arenas, she does a strong job. Like in
Mm,
school, she stays on the honor roll, and her test scores are through the roof. And then when she's doing anything with Prissy Athletics, she's pushing. In
mm,
basketball, she'll wake up early in the morning and she'll go out back and work on her
mm,
game. Um,
mm.
she's being nosy now, but she'll
No,
go
I
out
see it.
back.
Cameo.
She'll go back. She'll go out back and work on her game on her own. So I'm really proud that she takes ownership
Mm,
of the things that she's passionate about, and that she's able to balance those things and still, keep her focus on what it is that she dreams to do. So that's one thing I'm really proud of her for. I'm really, really proud of that. And then I'm also proud of her um, being able to, when things aren't going so well, that she has this innate thing about her that is like, no, we still want to make this happen. We're still gonna push, we're gonna make this work, mom. Like, I'm proud of her to be that inspiration to me. And
mm.
I learned from her in a lot of ways. A lot deeper than what I thought that I had it. So I'm really proud of those things.
Yeah, that was actually my next question because we spoke this whole time about how, the things that you're doing is teaching Kindle, but in both of your children, I'm sure,
Mhm.
so like what are some things that they have taught you?
Well, so my son is a very, open kid. So he's not as shy. Kendall's a shy
Mm.
one and he's not. So one thing that he's shown me was to find all the joy and the beauty in everything that we do.
Oh,
Because
that's
there's
beautiful.
times, yeah, like there's times where I'm like frustrated. I might be hollering at Kendall. You've seen it. I might be hollering at the child. But my son is that person that will come in and he will find something positive. He will find the joy. He'll find the beauty in whatever that situation is. So I've learned from him to be able to say, look, I can look at this thing, at this glass, half full as opposed to half empty, because he's always going to find something positive. He's very much like my dad in that regard. Um, and then with, like I said, with my daughter, she's that person that pushes through, and her emotions aren't all over the place. I've learned to, like, sometimes my emotions get crazy, and you know she won't have her emotions all over the place outwardly, very much
Mm.
so like her dad. So those are the types of things that I really learned from her, but really is from her is really the pushing, is really the let's do this. Like,
Tenacity.
she thrives on challenges. So when there's a challenge in front of her, she's probably going to be at her best.
Mm.
And so that's one thing that I'm very proud of her about.
Yes, I love that. So we're coming to an end here.
Mhm.
Is there anything that we didn't speak about that you would like to mention?
Other than, I just really want, people to, support Prissy Athletics as a whole. Check us out. Support us, even if people are just following us on, Instagram, or writing comments of support. That's awesome, because sometimes as we grow, she's going to get negativity. And I feel like it's
Mm.
important that we push, positivity into each other. So that's one thing that I would like to say.
Yeah, because we can all be a beauty and a beast.
Okay.
Period. Period. Any advice for the momagers out here watching who have talented kids? Is there anything, any nuggets or words of inspiration for those moms?
One nugget that I have is that, you know, when you see it in your child and you feel that they are in that space in any way, shape, or form, and they have a passion for it, even if it's not your passion, figure out how you can support it. Sometimes it might not even be the avenue in which you wanted them to take, but just support them. Be their cheerleader, be their champion, put them in the best positions to be successful at it. because you can look back on some things that you probably wanted to do that you didn't go through with. So it's your turn to like make your children better than what you were.